process was pretty straightforward for us. I mean, you spoke with Isaac first off, and you kind of like brought up the idea to him, and gave him like a general gist of the direction you wanted to go. And then he came to Drew and I, and he reached out and he was like, "Hey, I'm helping Eric put together the music for his book, and I was wondering if you guys wanted to hop on and assist us."
Isaac really like made the first step. He brought the original looping track, the Spirit Forest track that he made. He brought like a rough version of that to me and Devon, and we gave him some feedback, and then we went back and forth a couple times on that one, and made what you hear. And then, then we also constructed the theme after that.
One thing I did do is kind of go through video games that I really like to play and just kind of listen to what they had in the background. One of them was Assassin's Creed. I just re-downloaded a few of the different games and just kind of see what they had playing in the background that I wouldn't really pay attention to otherwise. So I kind of got a lot of different ideas from there. And then I won't go too far into it yet, but also just like hiking helped a lot, just to get the feel of like, especially for the one that the Spirit one, that kind of helped formulate the idea or the feel that I wanted.
Two things that I think for me influenced the process the most are like the Lord of the Rings soundtrack and like the vibe of World of Warcraft. Like those two things were big like things I was shooting for both the Spirit Force thing and the strings theme. And yeah, that was kind of like the bar that I kind of want to set for those things in terms of vibe and overall feel.
And I also think for us three, we pull a lot of inspiration from each other in the sense of that. Like, one of the best parts about our working relationship is that like Isaac will bring something to the table, and then Drew and I will have ideas on what he's brought to the table and be able to jump off of there.
When I read the book, I was trying to pinpoint like a specific moment that I wanted to kind of emphasize for what I wanted to like make into sound. And I kept going back to that scene in the grotto where it's like these spirits are basically talking to one another, and they're like the green emerald lights. If you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I just thought that imagery was super cool, and I live in Colorado and I love hiking. So just the idea of having spirits around while you're in nature was kind of cool to me. So I kind of thought about it in a way of like, what if they could communicate, but obviously we wouldn't be able to understand it. So I just used instruments that I thought were almost as like a conversational tool rather than a musical tool. So when you're listening to it, I kind of wanted it to be like these spirits are kind of talking to each other, and you're just kind of there within the atmosphere. But I think the way it relates to the book is that it really just highlights, I don't want to like ruin the book for people, but it kind of highlights and emphasizes the beautiful world that you created, Eric, and making it a little bit mysterious and kind of it makes you think a little bit, but then also it goes into this section where there's like all this war and despair and almost a little bit of twisted glory behind it. I don't know if that makes sense. Obviously, if you read the book, what I'm saying would probably make sense. But yeah, that's kind of how I would relate both of the tracks to the book.
I always say the best theme song is one that is memorable, but doesn't necessarily doesn't get stuck in your head forever. Like the ones that you can always draw back on, but you won't be saying for the entirety of the day and then get sick of.
You got to be able to sing it. Like that's like the hallmark of like a really catchy or like a really like iconic piece of music, is that you can sing the melody back. Like you think like the Avengers theme or like Hedwig's theme from Harry Potter, or I don't know, stuff like that, and it just kind of immediately puts you in a place. Like just the music of it. It can be any instrument playing it. Like if you hear the melody, it'll like take you to that spot, and that to me is like what makes a good theme for me.
Just to add on top of that, I think the theme should probably encapsulate the emotion or the feeling behind whatever the project is, whether it's intense, funny. I think it just needs to relate that emotion in a very specific way, but also, be memorable, be singable, and be listenable. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into a good theme, but I think those are three basics that make it.
Walls step back at me, dusty clouds settle in the trees. I look around